How are you? I'm very happy to participate in AEO program for you. Even though I cannot see you in person, I'm so delighted to be connected with you virtually. Let me introduce myself to you briefly. My name is Ga-byung Shim. I had worked for the Korea Customs Service for more than 40 years and retired 3 years ago. While I was in the customs, I had several chances to visit your country, especially your customs headquarters, for the purpose of origin cooperation. In that regard, I feel you are like my old friends. Currently, I'm doing several jobs. First, teaching at the university as an adjunct professor in the area of international trade, working as advisor for customs clearance company, and freelance research in the area of international trade and customs based on the expertise and experience. I love all of my jobs. Still, I love customs. Today, with the subject of Korea's small and medium-sized enterprises growth strategy through AEO, I will do my best efforts in order to meet your needs. Hopefully, you would enjoy my lecture. From now on, I will talk about the following in order. Part 1, outline of Korea's AEO system. I will explain Korea's AEO system roughly. You will have more opportunities in this area with other excellent experts. Next, Part 2, SMEs and their international business. I will touch international business pattern. Part 3, AEO program and SMEs growth strategy. For small and medium enterprises growth strategy, it is related to their international business, which will be mentioned at Part 2. So Part 2 and then Part 3 should be combined for such a purpose. Part 4, example of AEO best practice. You will see the success case of AEO company in Korea. Lastly, I will close my lecture with a summary of my lecture and its implication. Probably you will read the last part because you can, at that time you finish your course from my lecture. So let's start. Let me talk about the first part, outline of Korea's AEO system. For your easy understanding, I will break into four parts. So first, AEO program and its benefits. This part, I will talk about the definition of AEO program. Then, who can be applicant for AEO authorization and AEO benefits. Then you will understand AEO program and its benefits. Second, AEO authorization and AEO authorization procedures and standards. This part, I will talk about AEO authorization procedures and authorization standards. You will understand those things generally. Third, authorization standards for small and medium enterprises. Focusing on especially SMEs exporters, and importers among all traders, you will understand what kinds of standards for SMEs are required. Lastly, AEO MRA, mutual recognition arrangement, and its benefit and status. From this part, I will talk about the definition of AEO MRA, benefits, and authorization status by sector, by company size, and by country in force. Then you will understand Korea's AEO system, including MRA overall. Anyway, you will have more opportunities to learn about this area in detail and in depth. Next, let us start from AEO program and its benefits. First, what is AEO program? AEO program is kind of a partnership program between customs and business for strengthening supply chain security. Let's go back to how AEO program was born. As the background of AEO program, we can find it from 9/11 attack happened in 2001 in New York, especially World Trade Center. Several days ago, a lot of events were held in the US for the memory of those who were killed. It's very, very sad. Those kind of incidents should not happen again. Anyway, this incident dramatically changed US supply chain policy on international cargoes, especially entering into the US for the protection of their people. This gave a great impact to global supply chain environment. In 2005, WCO adopted a safe framework of standards in general meeting for the global supply chain security, which are quite similar to CTPAT. CTPAT stands for Customs Trade Partnership Against Terrorism of the US. WCO safe framework became reference for the legal base of AEO program for all WCO member countries. Thereby, Korea Customs authorized a company as AEO after examining its 4 requirements, in other words, 4 pillars, such as the legal compliance, internal control system, financial soundness, and safe management, adequacy of import and export companies. I can say this program is a kind of win-win strategy because AEO companies can enjoy simplified customs procedures. On the other hand, customs authorities can focus on cargoes harmful to social safety and people's lives with limited human resources. Next, let's look at the Korea's domestic legal base. First, Customs Act. There are 5 articles from Article 255.2 to Article 255.7. These articles deal with the authorization, benefits, post-management, revocation, support program related to AEO authorization, and the measurement and evaluation of compliance level. Among 5 articles, one interesting article, that is Article 255.5. It is regarding support program related to AEO authorization for small and medium-sized enterprises. Article 255.6 said, Korea Customs Service Commissioner may implement support program such as consultation and education that are necessary to obtain or maintain AEO status for entities related to trade among SMEs provided in Article 2 of the Framework Act on Small and Medium Enterprises. Under this Act, SMEs can pay AEO consulting fee with the export voucher provided by government. The voucher program is helpful to SMEs in terms of financial burden. Next. So under the Customs Act, there is enforcement regulation. One is the enforcement decree. So enforcement decree, as you can see from the screen, it handles standards, authorization procedures, benefits, post-management, and measurement and evaluation procedure and its utilization according to the delegation from the Customs Act. Next, relevant provisions is Commissioner notification on AEO authorization and operation. This notification contains more detailed authorization standards, procedures, and operation in relation to AEO program. One of the interesting provisions is that account manager is designated for the authorized AEO companies. So as the account manager's duties, they are periodically checking whether the authorization criteria are met, confirming implementation of authorized standards compliance improvement plan, correcting customs clearance, maintenance of records of such results mentioned above, confirmation and inspection of change, regular self-assessment, and customs cooperation, providing information and consultation, advising for improvement of legal compliance. This part actually very, very essential to small and medium-sized enterprises because they have short hands. Finally, corporate profile management. So AM's duties are very, very helpful to SMEs, considering SMEs situation like short human resources and short financial situation. Next. By the way, who can be the AEO, authorized economic operator? As you know that first exporter and importer, they are traders. They are key players in international global supply chain because they initiate international trade. Next, customs broker, bonded area operator, bonded transport company, loading and unloading company. They belong to domestic supply chain in relation to international trade. There is international trade. That trade is involved in domestic and then also overseas supply chain. Next, the forwarder, shipping company, and airline. They belong to overseas supply chain. As I said earlier, in case of international trade, domestic and overseas supply chain are very closely linked together, as you can see from the diagram. Now let's look at more detailed AEO benefits from the perspective of the company. First, fast clearance. More specifically speaking, reduced inspection rate, ERP-based import-export declaration, and when selected for inspection, priority clearance to AEO are applied. Second, exemption from customs audit and preferential treatment in duty payment. In detail, customs audit, foreign currency transaction audit, and the obligation to deposit collateral increase the ceiling on monthly deferred payment of duties are exempted. Third, benefits for the license. In detail, extension of permission and license, collective report of bonded transport declaration. Lastly, convenience. In other words, preferential treatment to CEO, such as priority inspection at airport is provided. You will have more about AEO benefits later from this program. Next, let's talk about the AEO authorization procedure and standards. Regarding procedure, you can see the diagram from the slide. First, company submits the application, then customs reviews application and documents. If everything is okay, then goes to the field for on-spot verification. And then also, if it goes well, it is referred to deliberation committee. This deliberation committee determines whether the applicant is qualified for the AEO status. If so, they determine AEO grade. That is authorization. If the applicant is authorized as the AEO, the authorization is in fact for 5 years. 5 years. Since then, AEO company has to follow up management. For follow-up management, the customs designate specialized customs auditor. That is called account manager for only the AEO company. The AEO company is managed by themselves and then also account manager, kind of a double checking. Next, how about the authorization renewal? In case of a renewal, the company has to apply from 1 year before up to 6 months. 6 months before the effective period. So effective period, in other words, 5 years. So the effective period expires before the company should renew their authorization. As the renewal procedure, first, applicant submits the application, then it is examined by customs. If everything is okay, then the deliberation committee renews and the authorization is renewed, like the procedure of the first application for AEO authorization. Next, General Authorization Standard. Korea standard is based on WCO SAFE framework. It is composed of 4 pillars or 4 areas. The first pillar is legal compliance. Legal compliance. This is composed of legislation related to import export, such as Customs Act, FTA Special Customs Act. FTA Special Customs Act is a special act being compared with the Customs Act, only dealing with the FTA. Then Foreign Trade Act, Foreign Exchange and Transaction Act. Actually, these laws are basic trade-related laws, and then also major legislation for customs compliance. Second pillar is internal control system. This is composed of establishment of communication and control system to maintain appropriateness of import and export declaration. The third pillar is financial soundness, especially to SMEs. They are weak in this area. This area is composed of maintaining an appropriate level of financial status, such as no arrears in paying customs duties and taxes related to business activities. Last pillar is safe management. This is composed of business partners, transportation means, access control, anomalies, handling procedures, facilities and equipment, information, technology, and education and training systems for the safe management of import and export cargoes. Next, especially in case of importing, exporting companies, they have to comply with 4 pillars. I mentioned just before at the previous slide. Generally, 4 pillars I explained. From this slide, only focusing on trading companies, they have to comply with 4 pillars. Like this, regarding legal compliance, it is composed of observance of major legislation. Major legislation means basic trade laws, like a customs law, FTA Special Customs Act, Foreign Exchange Transaction Act, and then Foreign Trade Act. This is a major legislation to the customs for compliance checking. I can say it is called software of AEO. I interpret in my own way, so I can say it's the software of the AEO. Let's compare AEO to computer. In order to operate a computer, software and then hardware should go together. Next, regarding internal control system, it's the elements control environment, risk management, control activities, information and communication, evaluation of internal control activities. This can be said the connecting program between software and hardware. I will talk about hardware later. Next, financial soundness. It is composed of in-time customs and duties payment and sound financial status. Lastly, safety management. Its elements are composed of business parties, transportation methods, access control personnel, handling procedure, facilities, and equipment IT. IT, today's situation, trading environment, IT is very, very essential. Then education and training. Education and training are also very important. in terms of the qualities of human resources. This can be called the hardware of the AEO. I said, mentioned before, I interpreted it in my own way. So this pillar can be said hardware of a computer AEO. So in order to operate the computer smoothly, software, linking program, and hardware should be well harmonized. That is, in other words, 4 pillars of the AEO. Next, let's go into authorization standards focusing on small and medium-sized enterprises. First, in case of SME exporters, through a comprehensive risk assessment on export-related activities and export supply chain, they have to improve compliance with customs-related laws. I mentioned before, Customs Act, Fta Customs Special Act, and then Foreign Exchange Transaction Act and Foreign Trade Act. They are essential laws for international trade. So they are customs-related laws. However, their business type is not directly dealing with the major activities in the export supply chain, such as transportation and shipment, but delegating them to trade partners through contracts. Therefore, their capacity to take measures satisfying authorization standards is required through cooperation with their business partners related to export activities. So cooperation between relevant parties is essential. In conclusion, elements in order to make the entire supply chain linked to SME exporters comply with customs-related laws will be considered for AEO authorization. Next, let's look at the case of small and medium enterprise importers. Through comprehensive risk assessment on import-related activities and import supply chain, they have to improve compliance with customs-related laws, same as that of in case of SME exporters. So exporters and importers, from the opposite side, importation is exportation, exportation is importation. However, their business type is not directly dealing with the major activities in the import supply chain, such as transportation and shipment, but entrusting them to trade partners through contracts. Therefore, their capacity to take measures satisfying authorization standards is required through cooperation. Again, cooperation with their business partners related to import activities. Small and medium-sized enterprises, they cannot export their goods, they cannot be involved in transportation and then making insurance. So they assign this to somebody. So cooperation with that kind of person is desperately needed in terms of AEO authorization. In conclusion, elements in order to make the entire supply chain linked to SME imports comply with the customs related laws will be considered for AEO authorization. Next, let's take a look at the AEO MRA, its benefit and its status. First, what is AEO MRA? It means mutually recognizes AEO in foreign partner customs territories or customs countries. In other words, customs conclude a mutual recognition arrangement to provide equal benefit for customs procedures. So exporters can enjoy fast clearance for their cargoes in the importing country without physical cargo inspection. So that is AEO MRA, and then also benefit. Next, let's look at the more detailed benefits of AEO MRA. When AEO MRA is implemented between relevant countries, the following benefits are granted to export cargoes from AEO countries in the importing country. First, reduced import inspection. Second, simplified document checking. Third, priority customs clearance. And preferential treatment in case of emergency like natural disaster. Furthermore, customs officials are designated in order that they respond to the AEOs quickly in case of customs clearance issues they have. So it's very helpful to explorers to other countries. I would like to say again, by providing MRA benefits of customs clearance through an AEO, it greatly contributes not only to saving logistics costs, but also ensuring predictability of trade. Next, let's look at the authorization status as of December 2021 in Korea. According to Korea AEO Association, first let's look at the by sector. Exporters 281 companies, importers 165, customs broker 103, bonded area operator 63, bonded transportation company 36, forwarder 208, loading and unloading company 7, shipping company 8, airline 2. So you can see the largest number among total authorized companies who is exporters. In other words, the maximum beneficiary of AEO program, we can say exporters. Next, let's look at by company size. In case of customs brokers and logistics, the main user of AEO program are SMEs because their company size is mainly SMEs, not big sized companies. However, in case of trading companies, SMEs 108, mid-sized company 128, big-sized company, 138. Probably you know that most of traders are SMEs in terms of number. In Korea, in this case, SMEs are more than 90% among all trading companies. But the main user of AEO program, as you can see from the screen, who? Big-sized companies. In other words, in order to make SMEs competitive in the global market, we have to motivate SMEs for AEO authorization with some kinds of incentives or SMEs assistance program. In Korea, we adopted the export voucher program, which can be used as AEO consulting fee to support SMEs for AEO authorization. Next, let's look at the by country in force. Korea has mutual recognition with 18 countries. 18 countries MRA are now implemented. In other words, in effect. So 18 countries are Canada, Singapore, US, Japan, New Zealand, China, Hong Kong, Mexico, Turkey, Israel, Dominican Republic, India, Taiwan, Thailand, Australia, UAE, Malaysia, and Peru. Not implemented but concluded countries, they are Uruguay, Kazakhstan, and Mongolia. And now as negotiating countries, Vietnam, UK, and Russia. Hopefully in the near future with the Philippines. Probably this program will initiate, I guarantee. Next, SMEs and international business. In this relation, I will talk about the SMEs in brief. You will understand the definition of SMEs, ratio of SMEs from total companies, SMEs characteristics, import and export ratio of SMEs among all trading volumes. Then finally, weak points of SMEs and how to overcome their weak points for the growth. Next, I will talk about SMEs, international business and growth engine, which is FTA. Then how to utilize FTAs by SMEs, small, medium-sized enterprises. From this part, I will talk about international business for exportation, SMEs export ratio trend, FTA utilization trend for exports by company size, promoting exports using FTA. Then you will understand the growth engine of a company is FTA. Lastly, how to utilize FTAs by SMEs in Korea. As you know, Korea is a small country, very, very small country with 50 million people. In other words, it is a small market to the companies. In order to expand economic territory, Korea has concluded FTAs aggressively. From this part, I will talk about Korea's FTA policy, 3 elements for FTA utilization, major contents of rules of origin, then 3 steps of origin procedures. Then you will understand software. I love software and hardware kind of for easy explanation. So software and hardware for FTA utilization for the growth of small and medium-sized enterprises. Let's start with the SMEs in brief. By the way, how do you define small and medium enterprises? In Korea, this definition is provided in Small and Medium Business Act. Under this act, SME, small and medium enterprises, or in short SMEs, means corporation as a legal person or individual entrepreneurs like me, meeting the standards among business operators for profit, for money. The standards size. There are two elements for standards. One is size, the other is independence in terms of ownership and management. This time I'll just talk about the size. So regarding the size, it is decided based on sales amount and total asset amount. Just to compare total asset amount. In case of SMEs, it is less than, you can see from the bottom of this slide. In case of SMEs, it is less than 500 billion won. I don't know how to convert it into US dollar, but anyway, in Korean currency, 500 billion won. In case of mid-sized company, 500 billion or more. Then, big-sized company, the standard is, in terms of total asset amount, is 10 trillion won or more. Now you get an idea what the SME means roughly. Next, ratio of SMEs among total companies. According to Statistics Korea, in 2019, in terms of number, SMEs has the portion of 99.9% of total companies. Can you believe it? Almost all companies are SMEs, 99.9% in terms of number. Next, let's look at the number of employees. SMEs has the portion of around 83%. So in terms of number of companies and in terms of number of employees, almost all companies belong to types of SMEs. Now you realize how important SMEs are for the competitiveness of country in the global market. Again, the competitiveness of the SMEs is the competitiveness of a state, a country. Therefore, we have to improve the qualities of SMEs in order that they can compete in global market. Next, then what kinds of characteristics do SMEs have? You already know them. This is common in almost all countries. Same situation occurring in almost in all countries. According to Job Korea survey regarding 214 SMEs, they said they have a shortage on the area of human resources and money. very, very essential elements for the company. So in case of human resources, being compared between 208 and 218 for 10 years, the short human resources rate increased from 46.7% to 68.7%. Sorry. Job seekers don't like to work at the SMEs because of low salary and bad working condition. As the short human resources area specifically, the highest portion was 22.4% for business, next 16.3% for production, 15.6% for sales and service, 13.6% for accounting, 12.9% for marketing. The shortest human resource area in SMEs is which area? Business area. This gives some hints with why SMEs are so weak in international business. Next, import and export ratio of SMEs. According to 219 trade statistics by company size from Korea Customs and Statistics Korea, regarding number of exporters, big companies are 857, mid companies are around 2,000, SMEs around 95,000, so 97% of total exporters. However, in terms of export volume, big companies $348 billion, mid company $93 billion, SMEs $100 billion. So SMEs are composed of 18% of total trading value. Regarding number of importers, SMEs are composed of 98%. However, in terms of import volume, SMEs are composed of 24%. Therefore, in conclusion, SMEs very, very weak in terms of importation and exportation. Next, let's take a look at the weak points of SMEs and how to make the weak SMEs grow. According to KIEP survey, first as the weak points of SMEs, 33% of surveyed SMEs focus on only domestic sales, 20% does not have sufficient information on overseas markets, 13.3% has difficulties in financing, 13.3% does not have sufficient competitiveness of products overseas, 6.7% has difficulties in finding overseas buyers, 6.7% had difficulties in employing export experts and training. 6.7% has difficulties in customs clearance overseas. From these statistics, you can see SMEs are having a lot of problems with international trade. So in order to make SME grow, they have to find buyers from overseas markets. How they can find overseas buyers? How? The answer is by good quality, by good price, and then also by timely delivery. You can get the clue of FTA as a software and then AEO as kind of a hardware for safe supply chain. In other words, for the growth of a company. However, in reality, SMEs have problems such as system and structure, very vulnerable, very weak in environment change, limitation in internal expert resources, and organizational members' reluctance to change. As a human being, you don't like a change. Personally, I am afraid of meeting dramatically changing environment. So same to SMEs. However, they have to overcome those problems. With innovation through strengthening competitive capabilities, SMEs can grow and can develop. In that regard, we have to understand international trade. Next, international business and growth engine, FTA. First, let me explain international business in brief for exportation. You see the diagram from the starting to the end. Then you can understand why SMEs have so many difficulties in international business. International business is different from domestic business. International business starts with overseas market research, finding potential buyers, and then also they have to negotiate with the potential buyers, then concluding contract, opening LC, or receiving LC, then they have to make a plan in order to produce goods. And then also they have to have export approval, production plan for goods to be exported, where they have to find raw materials for the exports. So procuring raw materials, and then also they have to calculate how much raw materials required in producing finished goods. Then trade, financing, production of exports, making contract for transportation, for cargo, insurance, export customs clearance, loading on vessel or airplane, arranging, preparing transportation documents, collecting price of goods from the buyer, customs drawback, and post management. In order to sell goods to other countries, if they are producers, manufacturers, they have to know both importation and then also exportation process. So this will be very burdensome to SMEs. Next, let's look at the export ratio trend based on total export amount. According to Korea Trade Statistics Promotion Institute, SME's portion among total export volume, it ranges from 17.0% to 21.1%, around 20%. So it's higher than that of mid companies through the years between 2008 and 2020. This graph shows the possibility SMEs can be competitive in terms of international trade, kind of a silver lining, I think. Next, take a look at the FTA utilization trend for exports by company size. According to Korea Federation of SMEs, in 2019, export utilization rate of SMEs was around 60%. In other words, 40% of the SMEs did not utilize FTAs in the export process. On the other hand, the export utilization rate of big companies was 85%. So big companies almost utilize FTAs to the maximum. The reason why SMEs have poor utilization is that it is not easy to utilize FTA due to insufficient expertise and information on FTA. Next, you can see from the screen, SMEs had a lot of obstacles in utilizing FTA. The most encountered obstacles, answered 50%, was preparing origin supporting documents. Next, 17.7% in confirming HS code or bill of materials. Next, 6.2% in confirming concession items and rate. 6.2% in applying certificate of origin. 5.9% in confirming PSR, and PSR is product-specific rules of origin. And self-assessment. These obstacles are related to the vulnerability of SMEs we touched before. Next, let's look at how much SMEs can promote exports using FTA. In this regard, Ministry of Trade, Industry and Energy, in short MOTIE, had surveyed FTA utilization impact. Around 4,900 companies utilizing FTA answered their sales growth rate of 2019 compared with the year 2015. It was 11.6%, around 12%. But around 23,000 companies who are similar in terms of business environment not utilizing FTA answered their sales growth rate was 7.3%. So when you compared with the two data, FTA utilization companies had more growth rate by 4.3% rather than non-FTA utilizing companies. Now you can see the power of FTA. You can see FTA is growth engine to exporting companies. Next, now you realize that FTA is very essential area to trading companies. From now on, in order for the SMEs to utilize FTAs, I will explain Korea's FTA policies together with the rules of origin and origin procedures. First, how many FTAs Korea has implemented? As I said before, Korea is a very small country in terms of territory and also in terms of population. So in order to expand our territory in terms of economy, Korea has aggressively tried to conclude FTAs with other countries. So Korea started with Chile in 2004, then Singapore, and EFTA in 2006. The first stage FTA, Korea chose countries not giving too much impact to Korea with the FTA. After implementing those FTAs, Korea felt confident. Oh, we can do FTA. So after that, Korea initiated the FTAs very, very aggressively. So as of now, 18 FTAs with 58 countries. Probably you will know that Korea, Korea in terms of trade volume, within 10 countries. So I guess based on my memory, Korea ranked as the 8th country in terms of trade volume. As of June this year, Korea's FTA trading volume are 77.3% among all trading volumes. Most of trade is done with the FTAs. Without the FTA, companies cannot survive. So now you see, without the FTA utilization, companies cannot survive in overseas market. Next, as I said before, Korea is a small country in terms of territory and population. So Korea aggressively pursued FTA negotiation. Let's take a look at it by region. So in America, Canada, US, Chile, Peru, Colombia, and Central America. Next, in Asia, ASEAN, 10 countries, Vietnam, China, Singapore, and India. In Europe, EFTA. EFTA is composed of 4 countries. EU, first 28 countries. Now UK withdrew from Korea EU FTA, so 27 countries from EU. UK separate FTA concluded with Korea right after UK separated from EU. Then Turkey. Then next in Oceania, Australia and New Zealand. In February this year, mega FTA, RCEP, composed of 15 countries, was implemented. This year, we started to negotiate with the CPTPP members and the new types of FTA, India-Pacific Economic Framework, in short, IPEF. In order to utilize FTA, there are 3 elements. As 3 elements, there are applicable FTA rate, rules of origin, and origin procedure. Let me explain first applicable FTA rate. In order for exporter to utilize FTA, they have to know applicable FTA rate. Actually, this rate is FTA duty rate of importing country. But the exporter is located in exporting country. So in order to know exact applicable FTA rate, they have to talk with the importer. Korea has 10-digit system in order for the purpose of FTA duty rate. So exporter has to know HS digit of the importing country. Sometimes exporters, especially SME companies, has very difficulties in acquiring exact applicable FTA rate according to FTA. So, in order to start FTA utilization, first exporter have to check the right applicable FTA rate with the importers of the importing country. Then next, rules of origin. Rules of origin is for each goods, there is each origin criterion. So it can be different according to FTA. So exporters should check with the importer about the right origin criterion of the exported the goods to be exported. So rules of origin. And even though the exported goods satisfy rules of origin, then next exporter should, and then also importer should comply with the origin procedure. So origin procedure is composed of 3 steps. Regarding this part, I will talk it more in detail later. Anyway, for your understanding, origin procedure is composed of first, origin certification, and origin certification is carried out in the exporting country by the exporter, and a preferential application to the customs in the importing country by an importer. So, exporter and importer should cooperate about the right the CO issuing. Then the importing customs authority has some doubts. Then they can choose some importations subject to FTA benefit can be selected for origin verification purpose, whether the imported goods requesting FTA benefit satisfies the right origin criterion. So this is the last gate for the FTA utilization. So exporter so worries about the last gate, origin verification. Some exporters are so afraid of being audited for the purpose of origin verification, they give up utilizing FTA benefit. Anyway, regarding 3 elements for FTA utilization, this can be divided into 2 types of rule. So one is a substantial rule. As the substantial rule, there are concessional items and rules of origin. So exporters and importers have to cooperate each other about the right concessional item and the right rule of origin of the goods. Then next, the procedure rule. In order to implement the substantial rule, always the procedure rule is needed. As I said earlier, procedure rule is composed of 3 steps: origin certification, then preferential application, and origin verification. Some exporters neglect the procedure rule, but in order to have FTA utilization, they have to comply with the substantial rule and the procedure rule. So regarding procedure rule, I will talk about later more in detail. Next, major contents of rules of origin. This covers rules of origin for a certain product. So according to the product rules of origin, in other words, origin criterion can be different. There are 3 types in terms of origin criterion. The first one is wholly obtained rule. Wholly obtained rule, which means, for example, let's think about people. So people are born from their father and their mother in their belonging country. That is regarded as a wholly obtained rule. In other words, a product is planted and then growing and then harvested in that country. That is called the wholly obtained rule. So for example, from the screen, eggs, so hen have eggs in that country, then that eggs is regarded as wholly obtained in that country. So mostly agricultural products or ores, natural ores, belong to wholly obtained rule. And then also fisheries also mostly belong to wholly obtained rule. And then next, change of tariff classification. Under the change of tariff classification, there are 3 types. CC is a chapter change, so 2-digit change of 2 digit, and CTH, change of tariff heading, and CTSH, change of tariff subheading. So in case of CTH, 4-digit change of 4-digit, and CTSH is 6-digit change of 6-digit. In other words, substantially transformed in exporting country. That usually many 2 types of origin criterion. So one is CTC, the other is value added rule. Some FTAs for one product, exporter can choose a CTC or value added rule. So depending on FTA, it can be different. But anyway, most industrial products belong to CTC category. And then value added rule. Value added, when the goods are subject to value added rule, it is not related to CTC. In this case, when value added rule is applied, they calculate based on origin materials and non-origin material, usually based on FOB price. But depending on FTA, European countries, in case of FTAs with European countries, they use import content. So they are based on ex-factory price. But in other FTAs, except European countries, mostly they are based on FOB price for the calculation of value added rule. So in this case, exporters should know the nationality of the goods. So in other words, origin of the raw materials. So when they purchase raw materials in the domestic market or from overseas countries, they have to know originating status of the raw materials. So then they compare between origin materials and non-origin materials, and then based on FTA, they calculate the value portion. So this is the origin criterion. So as the origin criterion, there are in bigger categories, 3 types: wholly obtained rule, CTC, and value added rule. But when you look at the rules of origin, another element, that is direct transportation. Why direct transportation rule is needed? Actually, FTA, the purpose of FTA is to share common interests between relevant parties, not third country. So, in order to satisfy rules of origin, the exported goods should deliver from the exporting country to the importing country without visiting the third country. Why? In order to prevent origin laundering. That's why direct transportation rule is needed. But there is an exception. For example, the exporter couldn't find the transportation route directly from their country to the importing country, then they can visit the third country. But there should no further processing in the third country. That is not allowed in any other FTAs. Regarding the proof of direct transportation, the owner's responsibility of the proving the direct transportation is dependent on importer, not exporter. So, anyway, in order to have a non-processing evidence, then the importer should talk with the exporter. What is the transportation route? Whether the exports in question visited the third country, the importer should know, should check in advance before the cargoes coming into the importing country. Next, 3 steps of origin procedure. 3 steps of origin procedure. The first step is origin certification in importing country. Origin procedure is also very, very important, like rules of origin. as I mentioned before, there are 3 steps for origin procedure. The first one is origin certification in the exporting country. This is prepared. By exporters. There are 2 types of certification according to the FTA. So one is authority issuance. Usually Asian countries prefer authority issuance. And the other is self-certification. But in case of self-certification, there are 2 types. So one is issued by exporters. The other is issued by only approved exporter. Approved exporter system was adopted in Korea, EU, FTA, and also Korea, EFTA, FTA. But recently, when RCEP was implemented, approved by approved exporter, self-certification is implemented. In relation to self-certification, I have an episode when we have a FTA with the U.S., Korea, U.S. FTA. We first time adopted self-certification without any format. But Korean exporters was not comfortable in using self-certification without any format. So Korea Customs made recommended origin format. That was that kind of recommended origin format caused a lot of problem. Why? After the Korea-US FTA, in other words, Chorus FTA was implemented, there was the first Korea-US implementation committee. It was held in Washington, D.C. at the USTR conference room. At that time, I attended the meeting as Korea delegation. During the meeting, there was one critical issue. That was origin certification. U.S. side alleged that Korea government, Korea Customs violated Chorus FTA because under the Chorus FTA, origin certification style was a freestyle. Just the main elements listed in the agreement, then exporter can use any kind of format, any kind of freestyle or format, just including essential elements. But Korea made a format, origin format. Then Korean importers asked U.S. exporters to issue CO using Korea style, Korea's recommended format style. So this violated Chorus FTA because there is no regulation in such a way. Then our delegation, our head delegate and the U.S. head delegate argued for a long time at the meeting. So the atmosphere became very quiet, very silent, and kind of no exit to solve the problem. At that moment, I whispered to my head delegate, "Can I defend why Korea customs made recommended the format style?" So my head delegate allowed me to do so. I said, so far, until we have a FTA with the US, our certification style only authority issuance style. So our exporters are accustomed to issuing format style of origin certification. So that's why Korea Customs made the recommended format. So box 1, you should write this. Box 2, you should do that. Kind of instruction. When that kind of instruction was given, then our exporters very, very pleased, and then they didn't give up issuing CO. So with the Chorus FTA, Korea is now shifting from Asian style of origin certification to the Western style of origin certification. So now we are in the transition period. So I mentioned again, Korean exporters feel very, very comfortable when they see the box. Then US head delegate responded to me, no, we feel free when we are outside of box. So I said we feel free when we are inside the box. So outside the box, inside the box, come and go. Then everybody attended at the meeting, laughed and then clapped. So the atmosphere dramatically changed into delightful and then amicable atmosphere. So that controversial issue was solved without any further without any opposition. So that is my experience. So exporters feel very, very nervous about different types of origin certification. Therefore, as SMEs, so all FTAs, in case of RCEP, now authority issuance and self-certification in case of approved exporter. Those kind of different type of certificate issuance giving a lot of difficulties to SME. And then also some importing customs office checks the formality of the CO strictly. Some countries who have a deficit trade, then they are more focused on examining documents supporting the originating status. So they apply the rule very strictly and then sternly. So the CO is denied and preferential treatment is refused. Then the exporters have problems in expanding their overseas markets. Therefore, the customs office in exporting countries should educate the SMEs regarding issuing guidelines according to the FTA. Now in Korea, 18 FTAs, 18 FTAs. If the SMEs are not prepared for them in advance, they will encounter a lot of adversities. The following procedure is preferential application in importing country. This is done by an importer. The importer applies preferential tariff treatment at the time of import clearance. In this case, the importer should possess certificate of origin. If not, it can be applied after the clearance within time limit. In Korea, 1 year after customs clearance, the importer can apply for the preferential duty treatment. So the important thing at this stage is the importer should check with the exporter whether the CO is issued correctly prior to import declaration. In other words, the importer and exporter should cooperate each other, like the international supply chain safety. Like the safe international supply chain, goods and their supporting documents should come into the right place and the right time. Last is origin verification in an importing country. This is initiated by the importing customs. According to the FTA, it can be verified by the importing customs or exporting customs. So depending on FTA, it can be different. Usually, in case of FTAs with Asia and Europe, type of origin verification is indirect verification. Indirect verification, which means importing customs does not carry out origin verification. On behalf of the importing customs, exporting customs do that, or issuing CO issuing body carries out origin verification, especially Korea, ASEAN FTA, Korea, India FTA. So, but most cases, in case of indirect origin verification, exporting customs is involved. Regardless, and then also direct verification means the importing customs carry out origin verification. So they first ask documents from the importer, then they are not satisfied with the importer's documents submitted, then they ask exporters in the exporting country, then still they are not satisfied with the documents submitted by the exporter, then they can go to the premises of the exporters. In other words, on-site verification, looking at the counting books, and then documents. So verify whether the applied application for FTA is being checked on the on-site verification. So in this case, the exporters very stressful and then burdensome. They don't like origin verification from the importing customs authority. Regardless of whether the importing or exporting customs carries out origin verification, the importer and exporter should cooperate, even in the area of origin verification. As I said, this is the last gate. So if they pass this gate, then they are free. They are free. They are relieved from the burden of origin verification. Even though the importer received the FTA duty benefit, if the rules of origin verification is negative, the received FTA benefit, in other words, FTA duty amount, the difference between FTA duty amount and MFN duty rate amount should be returned to the customs. And then also those kind of things cannot be reflected into their transaction cost of the customer. So it can give a lot of stress to companies. So exporters should comply with origin verification requirements. Next, AEO program and SME's growth strategy. This part will be divided into two several parts. So one is SME's FTA business and supply chain management. From this part, you will understand how SME's FTA business and supply chain management is correlated. The second is SME's growth strategy and AEO program. From this part, you will understand how SME's growth strategy and the AEO program are correlated. Let's look at the first part, SME's FTA business and supply chain management. Regarding FTA business strategy, SMEs carry out market research and finding potential buyers, checking concessional items, and FTA rates. Then sourcing raw materials for satisfying origin criterion and producing goods to be exported, and issuing the right origin certification for utilizing FTA benefit. With the above-mentioned process, companies can export products with good qualities and competitive price smoothly at the right time. In other words, cooperation between importers and exporters through supply chain operators is necessary and required. This is exactly related to supply chain management. Actually, Fta business strategy can be called a kind of supply chain management. Let's look at the screen. First, in case of raw material producing country, I indicated BOM country. They produce bill of materials. Bill of materials which will be used the final product in another country. So they export to other countries. By importing raw materials or semi-finished products, the exporters, the next step is exporters of the finished products produce final products, then export to the importing country. The importer in the importing country carries out import clearance. As you see from the slide, several countries are involved, starting from the raw materials, then semi-products to final products via global supply chain. Many operators are involved in such process. In order to deliver at the right time, fast clearance is required from the raw material transactions, next semi-products transaction, up to final product transactions. In order to have fast clearance, communication between relevant supply chain operators. Communication actually is not easy. Let's look at your home. For your change, I will give my example. I live with my husband. Even though we are husband and wife, we don't talk, even though we live together. My husband say, I always would like to check whether my husband loves me or not. Then he said, no response. So, why don't you respond? Why don't you say? He said, oh, do I have to say? Even though I don't say, you can read my mind. But a woman would like to check whether their husbands loves her or not orally. So, kind of checking each other is very, very important, especially between business partners. Business partners pursue their profit. Actually, business partners, they have a conflicting interests. So sometimes they don't like to share their information to the other for their own profit. But that is not good. In case of international business, all supply chain companies should communicate, should talk at the right time using proper methods. Now you see the relationship between Fta strategy and supply chain management. This is exactly needed for AEO authorization. Next, Next, let's take a look at SME's growth strategy and AEO program. You understand a SME growth strategy is exactly related to AEO program. We saw SMEs have many obstacles in FTA utilization because they have a short human resources, and then also no experts, no human resources, no experts. Therefore, central and local governments and institutions should assist SMEs to utilize FTA benefit for exportation and importation. For example, MOTIE, in other words, Ministry of Trade, Industry and Energy, is the relevant ministry with the FTA promotion, and the local government may assist SMEs with support policies such as financing or education. Korea Customs, KOTRA, and KITA, Korea International Trade Association. KOTRA is a Korea Trade Promotion. Korea Trade Promotion Agency. KITA assists them for solving obstacles in FTA utilization using their networks. In case of Korea Customs, they have customs attaches in major trading countries. So, exporter has some grievances in customs clearance in the countries where customs attaché are dispatched. Then they can get direct assistance. There is a hotline. And then KOTRA also, they have branches around the world. KITA also. So they help companies according to their mission for companies. So KOTRA and KITA all are involved in trade. So under the also Ministry of Trade, Industry and Energy. Therefore, they cooperate in assisting companies. Also, local commercial chambers may assist them by linking central or local governments and relevant bodies. Commercial chamber also very important, doing important role in assisting companies, especially for small and medium-sized enterprises. Thereby, they can be expert. They can be expert in international trade or FTA utilization, resulting in being competitive in global market, expanding their overseas markets, and growing in terms of sales amount. Next, Let's look at how SMEs and AEO program are related. SMEs are weak in the following areas, which are essential elements for AEO authorization, and then also growth factors. So this is a dilemma to SMEs. SMEs actually are weak almost in every area. In case of legal compliance, observance of major legislation is required. Major legislation is trade-related law and regulation. They are first Customs Act, FTA Customs Special Act, and Foreign Exchange Transaction Act, Foreign Trade Act. Those are actually basic trade-related law. So SMEs should know the basic and then major customs and trade-related laws. SME very short in terms of human resources, so in that regard, very, very weak. And then legal compliance level, so it could be the level, compliance level could be low. Second is internal control system. Like control environment, risk management, control activities, information and communication, and evaluation of internal control activities. Actually, SMEs are very, very busy in making products and selling their products. So, just focusing on those things, they are busy. They have no extra human resources to control internally. But internal control is very, very important. In order to prevent mistakes or errors in advance, they have to have internal control. So they have to examine where risk part is, and then they have to communicate between their departments. Communicating, as I said, starting from home, not easy. When the department has a different purpose and then different goal, then they cannot cooperate. So the CEO of the SMEs should pay attention to this area. Actually, in order to make SMEs strong, the mind of CEO's mind is the first and the most important elements for SME's AEO program. Financial soundness, regarding financial soundness, that probably all companies always say we have no money. Big-sized or mid-sized, probably they have their own style of financial issues. So financial soundness is very important. they should not delay customs payment. If they do that, they have to have more burden. They have to pay the duty amount with interest. So anyway, SMEs will control financial status. Then next, safety management. Safety management such as business partners, transportation methods, access control personnel, handling procedure. It could be document, it could be physical goods, and then facilities and equipment. And IT, education and training. This area also dilemma to SMEs. In order to have a good relationship with the business partners, actually that is linked to the internal control system, communication inside and then outside needed. Internal communication, external communication is needed in case of safety management with the business partners. And then also transportation methods. SMEs is not involved in transporting goods, so they assign expert to carry out transportation. So in order to make international transportation smoothly, then they have a capacity to communicate with the supply chain operators. So those things are very, very weak to SMEs, but those are essential elements for AEO authorization. Government also know the weak point of SMEs, so government try to help SMEs using some kind of a program. One of them is export voucher program. So if the SMEs have an export voucher program, their cost for the AEO authorization can be paid using export voucher program. And then also I have to mention that export SMEs can utilize account manager. If SMEs are authorized as AEO company, they can have account manager. Account manager belong to customs office. They are not general customs official, but they are very, very specialized in certain area. So account manager takes care of the authorized AEO company. Therefore, SMEs can be competitive in global market through AEO authorization. In other words, AEO program. So SMEs and AEO program very, very correlated especially to SMEs, they are weak. So in order to strengthen their capacity, competitive capacity in global market, they should utilize AEO program. Next, from now on, we will see one example of AEO best practice. For AEO promotion, Korea has had AEO best practice contest every year, starting from 2001 up to now. So far, Korea Customs had national contest, AEO contest 11 times. The purpose of this contest is to share best practice and also to boost AEO authorization among companies. From now on, I will introduce one company as the AEO best practice. I removed the name of the company for protection, just in case. This company deals with the clothes. This company entered into the domestic fashion market since 1980. Since 1994, this company has expanded into global markets such as China, Vietnam, India, Europe, and other countries. So they needed AEO authorization. So in 2005, this company acquired AEO authorization. But even though they got the AEO status, this company had a lot of problems. Above all, with incorrect information, this company declared the customs value incorrectly. So they got additional duty payment in addition to penalty duty amount. After the clearance, they found commodities in defect. These kind of problems occurred repeatedly, again and again. So this company had a dilemma on how to solve this situation. Why this kind of a situation happening again and again? The issue one was that the commodity information between trade team, trade department, material department, and design department not concentrated at one place. Because of this issue, price changed, duty rate changed. This resulted in floating customs value because price changing and then duty rate also changing. You know that in case of clothes, depending on the material or depending on woman's dress or men's dress or unisex. In this case, duty rate can be different and then also materials of the clothes can be duty rate different because different of HS number. Those kind of things were not communicated between departments. They don't talk each other. So communication is very, very important, indicated from the AEO 4 requirements, communication internally and then also externally. So there is no communication between teams or departments. Due to incorrect commodity information and then also incorrect shipping department. So one part probably handling with the transportation, one part probably dealing with the raw materials, and then one part could be involved in making design. Because of no communication between departments, finally, incorrect declaration to the customs occurred. Later, incorrect information was detected by customs. In Korea, we don't carry out document review during the customs clearance. Most of the customs in other countries do that because trading volume increasing rapidly, human power is limited, so let the goods go and then later it is examined in terms of customs value. Because of that, so if the importer does not declare their price correctly, if they are not caught by the customs, they are so lucky, they don't worry about the customs duties. But customs officials are very intelligent, then they analyze the data using computerized program, so they detect anomalies from import declaration. So these caused additional payment and also delay of customs clearance of the following goods. So once importer declare incorrectly, then later customs put that importer's kind of not blacklist anyway, the list subject to monitoring. So customs clearance was delayed for the successive goods. So it caused a lot of cost. A lot of cost should be borne by this company, by the importer. Next, the second issue was failure of major goods tracing to find out their location. For example, overseas factory produced goods, it should be delivered in time through international transportation. But due to failure of estimated international transportation schedule, international transportation was not arranged at the right time smoothly. And then also, it was not easy to find the location of the goods in question. This company had 10,000 transactions per year for international transportation, huge amount of volume. And international transportation for some transaction was unexpectedly changed. This kind of changed transportation information was not delivered within time. And then there are some omitted information. Also, at the time of sales, defective goods were found. This company calculated how much they lose in terms of annual sales. It was 30 billion won. 30 billion won. Wow, amazing figure. Next, because of those kind of issues, this company analyzed why this kind of things happen again and again. They realized the necessity of a portal system utilizing an AEO upgrade. This company had overseas factory 203 factories, huge factories. Import and export entries per year were around 10,000 entries. And then also number of products was around 22,000 products as of 2020. They thought if they upgrade AEO status, they realized that they have many benefits. The benefits are they can read fashion trend quickly. Then they can provide supply very fast and manage a complicated supply chain. For example, this week, this company can feedback from customer. Then they can change their design. Then according to design change, they have to change materials. Then at the following week, they can plan production. Then they can source import materials. After producing exports, this company can sell those goods reflecting customers' feedback to other countries. Then high demand for the products because this company reflected customers' taste and trend, especially these days. Clothes style is changing. Some people say if you don't throw away your dress probably for 10 years, 20 years, then the fashion will come back. Anyway, so fashion trend change very speedily, very fast. So this company understood how global market is changing. So they read the consumer's mind, and then they reflecting consumer's mind into their products. And then according to the products, they can source raw materials for the product, and then making, and then selling. Then the buyer want more and more because they can sell to the customers at a good price. Then the customers, retail seller or wholesaler, they can a lot of money. Then they will ask this company to produce more and more, and then to supply to them. So the circle is once go around the well, and then repeatedly goes well and well. So in that regard, this company catched the secret of success in terms of how to increase their sales volume. Next, so this company got the answer from AEO portal system. AEO portal system, you can see from the slide, they realized the final solution is AEO portal system, connecting all supply chain, such as starting from the customer, suppliers, manufacturers, logistics, distributors, and retailers. When you see the circle of the business, then you can remember the pillars of AEO authorization requirement. So actually, the AEO portal system meets AEO requirements. In that regard, this company was excellent in analyzing the issues and then seeking the answers. For such a purpose, solution 1 is integration of customs related information system. This system collects all kinds of information such as design, raw materials, and cost, production, countries into one place. That is AEO portal system. Using this AEO portal system, all kinds of information contained in AEO portal system is automatically consolidated into customs value comprehensive system. This system collects all data related for customs value calculation. So they, in order to reach customs value, comprehensive elements should be contained in this system. So automatically, this system can calculate customs value. So IT is amazing. IT is amazing. So in order to do that, some money needed. Not some money, quite some money needed. Then next, HSFTA, a comprehensive information system. In order to utilize FTA, HS classification is very, very important. In order to decide originating status of the goods which will be exported, they have to know raw materials used for the production of the finished goods, and then also HS number of finished products. If the raw material is 1, it's very easy. But in case of, let's assume that vehicle, thousands of materials needed for the production of finished vehicle, finished automobile. One reasons why FTA preferential duty application is rejected. One is wrong HS number. So if exporter choose the wrong HS number, everything, the other things is wrong. Like when you wear your shirt, you first the first button into the right hole. So if you put your first button into the second roll, then everything causes chaos. So HS number, the correct HS number is very, very important. So that's why this system is very, very useful in terms of FTA utilization. Then next, automatic trade document creation system. These days in Korea, we don't use hard copy document, even though when they submit import declaration to customs, some documents are needed to support the import declaration, even though in this case they send PDF style, so they don't have to bring a hard copy version to the customs in person. So everything now automatically processed. So this company can reduce a lot of money by e-document, electronic document. Next, solution 2 is GPS location tracking. I think this is a fantastic idea. It is real-time tracing management loaded with the alert system, alert. So using a satellite, entry of cargoes into overseas factory, import and export clearance, logistics and shop, display time, location of a vessel can be tracked. Wow, amazing, I think. So even though you are, so this company, even though at their office, they can see in overseas factories, cargo raw materials coming in and then producing final goods and importation, exportation, also checked, and then also cargoes loaded into the vessel, even though this company can trace the location of the cargoes using satellite. And then also, when this is consumer products, so when the goods are displayed for the consumer. So from the starting to the end, everything is traced by GPS. Actually, this company was the first time to introduce satellite tracing systems as the trading companies in Korea. That's why probably they got Best Practice Award when they attended the AEO Best Practice Contest. Next, with the AEO upgrade based on integration of a customs-related information system and GPS location tracking, this company solved the risk area, such as incorrect customs duty declaration, and thereby contributed to the profit with the real-time delivery of the right goods. In terms of legal compliance with the AEO upgrade, 76 point in 2014 was increased to what point? 99 points in 2021, almost 100 points, 100%. I mean, almost perfect. I'm curious what is 1 point is missing. Anyway, next regarding defect goods, 8% in 2018 was dropped to 3% or less in 2021. So from 8 to 9. Legal compliance 76 to 99, and the defect goods 8 to 3. What an amazing accomplishment. Let's look at the sales volume. It dramatically increased to 30 billion won in 2018. The achievements were there was no omitted customs duty amount because of automated system, customs value system using AEO portal system. And incorrect shipping documents from 30% to 0. No incorrect shipping documents occurred. Then job performance from 10% to 90%. Cost of document management per year from 100 million won to 0 because of document automation. This company achieved a smart, very, very smart AEO portal system going through global supply chain swiftly. Once again, a smart AEO portal system is composed of satellite international transportation tracing system, automated trade document system, and integrated smart trade information analysis system. With the satellite international transportation tracing system, it traces around 10,000 transactions of shipped cargoes per year. And there is a delay detected in transportation. This system automatically alert. When automated trade document system, it creates trade documents automatically reflecting changed correct information. This system is individually connected with supply chain operators such as exporters, forwarders, customs brokers, and others. With an integrated smart trade information analysis system, this system classifies HS number of imported goods for around 20,000 entries per year. Also, information regarding foreign exchange, accounting, including cost and others, is connected to the customs value adjustment. Once again, why I introduced this company as the best practice to you. So this company analyzed the risk elements and then seek the right solution. Then they got amazing achievements by upgrading of the AEO status. Now we covered all in relation to Korea's small and medium enterprises growth strategy through AEO. I will conclude with the summary and implication. So you will be very, very glad to listen to the final stage of my presentation. So as a summary, SMEs require securing competitiveness in the global market for their growth because there is no room in the domestic market. They have to go overseas. So for the growth, SMEs have to find their customers in a global market. A company's competitiveness is to supply goods of good quality at a competitive price in time in the global market. For the competitiveness in the global market, the utilization of FTAs is essential, and also the supply chain should be managed safely for the right time delivery. In conclusion, SME's growth strategy is to utilize FTA benefit and to provide the goods just in time through the safe supply chain management. In other words, through AEO program. Last, regarding implication, AEO authorization is preferred by exporters rather than importers. Why? This is due to the relatively strict customs inspection of the importing customs of the other country. That's why the exporters would like to acquire AEO status. From the SME perspective, AEO authorization and follow-up management need a lot of money and time. So AEO authorization is a burden to SMEs in terms of time and cost. As you know, SMEs have characteristics of focusing on making and selling goods due to their weak manpower and finance. Since SMEs may be weak in all AEO 4 pillar elements, government's financial support for AEO program education or training is required in order to strengthen the pillar elements. Under AEO program, designated account manager who is a customs official is very useful to SMEs because they have no enough human resources, even no experts. In conclusion, for the growth of SMEs, various supports such as financing or education training program by governments or institutions are needed. Now, really last, as the closing remark, hopefully my lecture is useful to you and also would suggest an idea or policy for the growth of SMEs in your country. Even though this is not face-to-face, but I'm very happy to be connected with you, even virtually. I would like to close my lecture with the following. The competitiveness of SMEs is the competitiveness of a country. The key is in AEO program. Thank you for listening. Bye.